we are live. Welcome to this April 2026 edition of the Laravel Worldwide Meetup. My name is Dan Sapelsa. I'm a developer at Vehicle, and along with my co-host, Margot Tavares, we are thrilled to once again bring you an awesome presentation from the Laravel community. And speaking of Margot, how are you doing today, Margot?
I'm doing pretty good, Dan. How about yourself?
Doing pretty well. The weather's a little dreary in my area today, but other than that, though, things are looking bright, both in terms of our presentation today and some stuff coming up in the Laravel community and otherwise. So speaking of that, before we get to our presentation, let's go through some of the stuff we have going on in our community. What do we got here?
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. All right. We got some great resources. So if you haven't heard about them, please check them out. So if you go to laravelnews.com, it's one of the best ways to stay connected to what's going on in the Laravel ecosystem. So they do a great job covering some releases and everything that's going on each week. So check them out. And you can sign up for their weekly newsletter as well at laravelnews.com. And big thanks to the Laravel News podcast with Jake Bennett and Michael Drinda. And we also have the Laravel podcast. So some new episodes this month. So if you want to take a look, Matt Stauffer had some chats with Dave Hicking and Jason Beggs. A lot of things going on with Laravel Cloud. So check them out at laravelpodcast.com. And for Lara Jobs, it's a great resource if you're looking for some Laravel developers. Or if you're looking to post a job as well, and all your Laravel job needs, you can check them out at larajobs.com. We also have some community companies that are looking for some Laravel developers that we want to give a shout out to. So Cause Strategy is looking for a full stack engineer, and they're currently looking for someone that is in the US. And also Patch Stack is looking for a lead engineer. Islocity is looking for remote in Canada. And also allcalls.io is also looking for some help. You can find out all the information and links to the description for the jobs in the description on YouTube after the meetup, after the live meetup. Up next, we have Laracasts, one of the best ways to learn about Laravel. So huge thanks to Jeffrey Way for building such an awesome resource, and you can check it out at laracast.com. And I also want to give a quick shout out to the Laravel community. So if you're looking for more events that are happening around the world, they're just like this, you can check out community.laravel.com. It's a great way to stay connected. And you could also have, if you have an event or a meetup that you also like to share with the community, please check out that link. There's a great link to a great form to be able to fill out all that information and get your event on there as well. Also want to shout out Laravel stories. So if Laravel has changed your world in some way, check them out at laravel.com/stories and share with Laravel community. Taylor has a couple questions for you. So if you'd like to share with the community, please check it out there and get your story heard. Also wanted to share a great event that's also happening today at 2 p.m. So if you are somebody or if you work on a team that's looking to move over to Laravel Cloud or the private cloud, there's a company in the community called GovAI that wants to share their story with how they've done it. You can check them out at 2 p.m. and the link will be in the description box below now if you want to take a look at that. And also big thanks to Vehicle for our hosting and sponsoring for this meetup. They have a great team of developers. So if you're looking to solve a Laravel problem, their team can be very happy to help you out. So check them out at go@vehicle.com or check out their website, vehicle.com. We also wanted to do a quick giveaway as well. So big thanks to our sponsor, JetBrains. So you can scan that QR code, and up until May 5th, we are going to be taking all of our responses, and we'll contact the winner, and you can win a 1-year subscription to any JetBrains IDE. And that's what we got going on for our community announcements. I'll pass it off to Dan to introduce our speaker for this month.
Thank you, Margot. The gentleman here in this hat, as you can see, is Jim Seconde. Jim finds himself as a senior developer advocate by day at Vonage, and he's here to share his presentation here. I didn't know Laravel could do that. It's going to answer the question, what is a CPaaS? And moreover, what can connecting a CPaaS to your application do for you? So without further ado, let's bring him in. Here he is. Jim, how are you today?
Hello. I love the intro quick banter of like, I can tell you two are not American. How are you doing? Got a bit of a bad back at the moment. Weather's not that good, but I'm looking forward to this presentation. That is not. That's like you are not from the United States of America.
So how?
Yeah, you're getting old when you can feel the rain in the back. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, it's all right. You know. Oh God, kids didn't go to sleep early last night. Oh.
There's sunshine in my day, regardless of the weather. Was what I was trying to infer.
But yeah, we've got spring here. My flowers are coming up, which is good. I've got my solar powered fountain that's on, and that's doing really well. Apart from the birds really like it, and they love going to the toilet in it. But apart from that, there's a lot of cleaning to do. But apart from that, the fountain's good.
That's awesome.
thank you for joining us today, Jim. We appreciate it. And yeah, without further ado, if you wanted to go ahead and share your screen, we can go ahead and hand things off to you. And Margot and I will step backstage.
I can do that. I have to do something first.
Sure.
Obviously.
All right, dude.
I mean, you didn't think it was not going to happen, right?
This is a surprise for us too, everybody.
I don't know if it's a surprise for me. I've seen this. I've had the pleasure of seeing this in person. So,
right. Amazing. Let's actually share the screen, shall we? There we go.
Amazing.
All right, there we go. Well, Margot and I will step backstage, and it's all yours, Jim. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you very much, both. Thanks, Dan and Margot. Now they've gone backstage. They must be absolutely relieved by now. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, friends and enemies, boys and girls. This talk is called I Didn't Know That Laravel Could Do That. And I am James Seconde, or Jim, depending on whether you want to use my government name or my informal name. This talk, because it's I didn't know I could do that. There is an American it's become a kind of a meme, a TV show from PBS, I think. I don't know about that many American things called The More That You Know. And so it's a bit like that of I didn't know Laravel could do that. The more that you know, and it's accompanied by a sound. Hold on. I didn't know that Laravel could do that. Here is the backstory behind this talk. I didn't think I was going to write this talk because it comes from what we call in things like developer experience, where we're a company that the Vonage is a company that writes APIs for developers to consume. You sort of forget that there are people new to this kind of thing and people don't know about what it is that you do or why or things like that, and you just sort of forget about it. So this comes from me being at the Vonage booth, really. So when we sponsor conferences, this is me in Sweden at DevSum last year, trying to look cool but failing. One of the questions that I got asked a lot about, and one of the things that I'd assumed is CPaaS, which is what this talk is about. I just kind of assumed that everyone knew what it was because we all go onto the new hotness. You know, we go onto Livewire, we go onto Reverb, or we go onto Laravel Cloud, and we go into and this comes from years and years of PHP development back when serverless was a thing, and Breath PHP, and Swool even now have got a new hotness where they've got some sort of some binary that they've just released that compiles. I don't know what it is. It blows my mind. And so PHP developers come up to me at the booth and they're like, "So what is it you do?" And I'm like, "Well, we do CPaaS, right?" "What's that?" "Oh, sorry, I thought everyone knew." So I'm going to go back in time and revisit. What if I did a talk of just what it is that we do? Because it kind of blows my mind that I just thought everyone knew you could do this. So CPaaS, it's everything. There was a time 10 years ago where everything was a pass. Jim as a service, Jim's bad jokes and the hot dog hat as a service, etc. It stands for this: communications platform as a service. And all of the people that are watching this that don't know what a CPaaS are like, that's fine, Jim, but you sort of sound like a corporate entity that's saying like, "Oh, we must leverage the things. We must leverage all the things and harness the power of AI." So what does this actually mean? It means this. It means your Laravel app can do communication stuff. Did you know that? And you can do it pretty easily. I'm not going to say it's very, very basic, because you can choose your fighter. You can do stuff, and we're going to see integrations that are like fairly straightforward. And then there's stuff that's mind-blowing, and it's the first time that it's really been demoed, especially to a Laravel audience, but to sort of anyone, really. So I've not said who I am, and I'm wearing a hot dog hat, and I will continue to wear this hot dog hat. If you want to know why, you have to go to VerstCon PHP, look that up. Here are my things. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on the PHP Mastodon. I'm on LinkedIn, probably the most out of everything. And then don't look at my, as I always say, don't look at my my GitHub, because you don't want to see my terrible code, do you? Why do you want to see that? It's not even my code anymore, it's Claude's. So let's do an outline of what I'm going to talk about. What is CPaaS? I've said what it is, and I've said like your Laravel app can do stuff, but what is it? I'm going to go through the PHP SDK. That's the Laravel PHP SDK. And then there's a Laravel Facade as well for it, which is kind of cool. RCS and WhatsApp. Verify and silent authentication. If that sounds like something from a spy film, you'd be right. It's ridiculous. Network-powered APIs. Field use cases for the kind of things that I'm talking about. To my audience, i.e. you may have a new project. You may be in an agency where you're taking on a new client. So I want to give you sort of vertical markets and things like that. Why Vonage? I mean, yeah, sure, I represent my company, but there is a reason for it, why I'd say that. And then it's quite important for me, for the Laravel audience, is the startup program that Vonage has. So, number one, what is CPaaS, Communications Platform as a Service? It is these APIs. We have a voice API, which means that you can create an entire call center programmatically using REST APIs. That's what it is. That means you can also have voice recognition, you can have text-to-speech, etc., etc. You can have Verify is the next one, which is two-factor authentication. And if you're not using two-factor authentication in your apps, why? What's wrong with you? Messaging. So messaging started off with SMS, but now we have RCS, we have Viber, we have WhatsApp, etc., etc. So that's an API where channels are being continually added to it. Video. We have an entire video API that lets you just build your own Zoom if you want to. And we do that primarily, I would say, in the healthcare industries where people want one-to-ones with their doctors and things like that. And then the big one, really, I would say, the thing that's going to secure, like it's going to be Vonage's kind of future, is security. And we'll get on to why that is. But security via network-powered APIs and what they enable you to do. And yes, I will explain what those are. So what you do is, you go to, because it's a platform, it's a cloud platform. You create an account. When you create an account, you get you can claim a little bit of credit. Ask me if you want a bit of credit. We'll talk about the startup program where you get more credit, but that's different because you have to apply for that. Here you go. Here's a dashboard, and it has a dashboard of like you want to purchase virtual phone numbers. Do you want to play with the messages sandbox? You want to do all your look at your logs, etc., etc. There's loads and loads of features that are available here. They're too numerous in the dashboard to sort of go through them, but I'm not here to talk about the product from that perspective. I'm here to talk about the code, the integrations, the stuff that as Laravel developers you're interested in. So once you've signed up to the platform, we have an SDK. Now, the Vonage PHP SDK, I'll give you some links in a minute, and the Laravel Facade that wraps it is been handwritten by us for 10 plus years now, where we try and do best in class. It's obviously all of the tests are in place. It uses a kind of service discovery / service container to link to different APIs of which ones you want to use. But essentially for you just pull it onto Composer, put in your keys, your credentials, and then you've got your backend sorted. So here's two links for later. That's the core on your left, on your right. Who knows? It's the internet. Who knows? And then there's Laravel. So Laravel, I think we've just updated it to actually be compatible with 13. I think, and I'll show you how simple it becomes when you use the facade for Laravel specifically. So, for instance, this is making an outbound call and it's adding an action. So you create an object called outbound call. It's from this number. It's to this number. It's created an action there, which is talk. Where it'll go, this is a text-to-speech call from Vonage. You can use, obviously, much nicer voices than the one I just did. You set the NCCO on the outbound call object, and then this is the bit where the PHP SDK comes in. So client, so that's a pre-configured Vonage client where you've put the credentials in. Voice, i.e. that's the API I want to use. Create outbound call, and if you run that code, it will then dial your phone, and you will then see your phone light up, and it will say, or whatever it is that you've put in there. So some of the magic of CPaaS is actually like testing this and watching in action, which I love, which I genuinely love doing. There we go. Thank you very much. They Vehicle have just looked into it and gone, yes, you can do 13. I'm pretty sure. Thanks to Chris Tankersley for that, or Chuck if you're listening. So the Laravel Facade bit simplifies it a little bit. The last line instead is you now have a facade. So you're calling a static method a voice, create outbound call. That will create a call for you. Lovely, lovely. Voice, I've not done too much kind of talk about it for the code or promoting it lately. But then this year and last year, this happened. And then when this happens, you realize that voice is suddenly really important. So, like, if you're toying around and you're thinking, like, well, I want a voice API that recognizes things like, what if I could, like, give Laravel Cloud deploy commands and then get Laravel to deploy on the cloud for a version? Yeah, the age of AI means that voice is now, I would say, more relevant than ever before. If you've got ideas about that, then hit me up on LinkedIn or hit me up on Blue Sky, etc. Because we're always looking, because the amount of influx of ideas that are coming off AI workflows now are kind of massive. For the people that are skeptical, don't worry, this is not an AI talk. Sorry. So now you know that's the kind of stuff we do. Just like you didn't know about the Sony PlayStation. So the Sony PlayStation was actually, it was Nintendo that commissioned Sony to make the Super Nintendo CD-ROM, just like Sega had commissioned the Mega CD. And they were like, make us a 32-bit thing. And so they did, and they started work on it. And they did really good progress, and they were like, we can do like full motion video and things like that. And then some third-party game that Sony had published that was on the Super Nintendo contained a vague reference to Donkey Kong. And Nintendo were like, you got to pull that. You got to pull that. You can't have that. And Sony were like, no, that's all right. And Nintendo went, fine, we're pulling the plug. So they pulled the plug on the Super Nintendo CD. And so what you see is Sony decided to basically just release the results anyway. And that is what the Sony PlayStation is. Let's go on to the next one. RCS and WhatsApp. What is RCS? It stands for Rich Communication Services. Now, this is a really interesting development within technology. So WhatsApp, in the PHP SDK, WhatsApp has quite a few objects that you can send. So like you can send location, and you can send audio, and you can send video. The thing is, you've been able to do that in the back end as part of communication services on your phone for quite some time. 2007, 2008 were the first RFCs that actually drafted that up. But no one was really interested. So, which was kind of, okay. But in 2015, with the advent especially of Kotlin, i.e. Android, and then Swift via iOS officially adopting RCS as a standard, meant that it's now accelerated loads. I've just seen, actually, there's a guy called Jack that's in the chat, and he's just said hello. I'm going to give a shout out to him because he lives like about half a mile away from me. So RCS behaves like WhatsApp naturally on your phone, right? So when you go into your messages app on your smartphone, you can do stuff like image, like video and things like that, right? So it's kind of like, it behaves a bit like WhatsApp, but it's SMS, but it's not SMS. So like I said, it's been accelerated since about 2015. You can send images, videos, prompts, locations, and you can do them on both. So if you want an example of something quite cool and cutting edge, I wrote an article last year called RCS Messaging with Laravel, Livewire, Reverb, and Echo. And yes, because I had Reverb and Echo, if you don't know, it's using WebSockets. So you basically end up with, I'll just let you take a moment to let the air in. Sometimes I need to breathe because I don't really stop talking. You end up with something that's, I'll show you the code and then I'll show you the front end. That's basically, it's a WhatsApp clone, but with a messenger. So you have your desktop app version. And then the end user device has their own thing where they're messaging back to you. So I've configured a client here. I've done it via the Vonage Facade, so you get config Vonage application ID. You've already created that in the dashboard. It's kind of as straightforward as this. I have a variable called RCS message. It's an RCS text object, which is in the PHP SDK, to, from the message, and then send it. Lovely. And then if you want to consume the reply from the device, you've configured an open route into your Laravel app, which hydrates webhooks. So this is an example from the Open API spec of an incoming webhook. And that webhook says, here's a message. So what I would do is have a conversation ID, a UUID4 with a conversation, and you'd assign it everything that's coming in. You'd work out a path routing wise, and it means that you have a conversation going and you have multiple conversations going. Cool. There it looks like on the front end. Like I said, go back to that QR code if you took it. And yeah, I made a WhatsApp clone in my Laravel app. Because that's what I do. I love it. Good fun, good times. What's next? Oh, unlock my phone. The more you know. You didn't know you could do that before. Which one's this? Ah, yes. The creator of Pringles was cremated and buried in a Pringles jar and then put into the ground. There you know. Did you know that? No. Did you know your Laravel app could do RCS like that? No, you didn't. Meh, both. Now, prepare yourselves. It's going to get a little bit feisty. Verify and silent authentication. It's a bit space age. When I talk to people on the booth about two-factor authentication, which is what the Verify API is, and they say, I don't know about two-factor authentication, you're lying. You're lying because I can sell you it. I can sell you two-factor. Everyone should have two-factor authentication. Everyone. If you say no, then, I don't know. It's just like Claude Code leaking their code everywhere. That's not good, is it? Everyone needs that. You need security. Don't lie. I know you need security. So verify and silent authentication. If you use the boilerplate stuff, if you use the starter kits with Laravel, you do have an option for 2FA, which is kind of hard-coded in via the Google Authenticator 2FA. So yes, you do have that, but I come at this from a friction point of view. And a friction point of view means that the end user does have to download and set up Google Authenticator before it will work, right? But we don't do that. We're an API that handles the 2FA process for you. But it has configurable channels, multiple channels, and a fallback system. So your 2FA can happen via email, RCS, voice, or WhatsApp. For instance, if you forget your password, if you've not logged in for a while at, say, an incredibly famous source code site where they store source code, but I am not allowed to name for legal reasons, and then you try and log in, and then you get a text message, who do you think's sending that text message? No more on that. I have an NDA. But silent auth, now we're going to start getting a little bit funky. But the good news is, here's one I did earlier. You can scan this QR code and get the integration of Vonage silent authentication, which I built into the starter kit for the scaffolding that they do for the user. When they builds out the user, you do the migrations and you have everything built in, and you even have forgot password and tokens and things like that. I built it in, so yeah, I'll go through it. I'm only going to skim through it because I can't go into detail. There is actually a talk that I did for Vonage internally that you can find on our YouTube channel, Vonage Dev, at Vonage Dev, if you want to check it out. The integration, it hijacks. I created a middleware. I created a silent auth middleware, and it hijacks the login process from the boilerplate starter kit that you're given. And it attempts to route you through silent authentication. You'll see that in the code in a minute. If it's not supported because your territory or your provider, i.e. the phone that the person is on the device, is not supported, it goes, okay, not supported, I'll send a text message instead. That's only my choice because of the demo of the code. You could make it instead. You could have a WhatsApp prompt. A prompt is even funkier than just sending a WhatsApp, because instead of sending the code, it says, is this you? And you can choose yes or no. Nice. The important thing with silent authentication is, number one, it is your phone as a password. How do they do that? The reason why Vonage can do that is because we are owned by Ericsson. So therefore, what is happening underneath is we're analyzing the traffic from the device to prove that it is you. And that comes through either the carrier, the signal that comes through on the line, or triangulation. We're doing all of that stuff. And it's like your phone is just your password. That's what it is. However, the trade-off is it's difficult to implement for a developer. I'm not going to lie about that. But also, it's completely frictionless for your end users. It's a trade-off. So, it looks like this. It's fun, isn't it? So, you basically got your own backend, and you get a request with the phone number. But the important thing is you set up a route to handle silent authentication. So a redirect URL, which comes really from JavaScript before you've sent it. Then it does, you can see that there's a check URL, this is the thing that comes back to Vonage. And then there's a request ID that we create for you. Once you hit it, you tell JavaScript to consume it and hit it. It gives you a request ID and a code. So if you think about it, invisibly, what it's actually doing is when you get a text message saying, here is your code, 1234, and then you put it in it's actually doing that automatically, but using the network traffic as your authentication. Is it mad? Yeah, sure it is. The rest of it checks the code, you do the rest of the authentication, and then there's a result. So yeah, pretty bad. There's a handle method in the middleware. The basics are, I've put, is this the first time logging in? But there's more code later, which is, have you logged in the last 4 days? If not, then we repeat this process. But it reroutes you to a page that says login via silent auth, which is that redirect route silent. So I'm going to hijack the flow and say you have to do this first before I'm going to authenticate you as a user. So then you click the button as the user. That's it. It decides for you whether you've logged in or not. It'll complete it. If not, no, doesn't like it, you've got to fall back. Otherwise, it will say, well, can't do it because it's not supported. Instead, we're going to do the old traditional way of sending you a text message on the phone. Pretty cool. Here's the actual controller itself. So it gets the redirect URL, which comes from JavaScript, which is something that you have predetermined. The phone number that the user put in, silent auth request, which is in the PHP SDK, send it off with the redirect URL so Vonage knows where it's going to send a callback to. And then off it goes. And then it does a try catch. If there's an error because you're not supported, then it redirects to the SMS route, which is the traditional way of doing it. So yeah, funky. Oh, it's running out of time here. What's this one going to be? Ah, yes. If you are really unlucky and you take a knock on the head, then you might end up, I mean, you're really unlucky here. You might end up with foreign accent syndrome. Your accent suddenly becomes foreign. You start speaking like a Frenchman or a Dutchman. And that can just happen. You didn't know before that you could do all that stuff with silent authentication, and now you don't. Now you know about foreign accent syndrome. What's next? Network-powered APIs. Let's go mad. This really, for a REST API within HTTP, this is the next gen stuff, really. And under the hood, what Vonage is doing is leveraging the power of Ericsson, because we are owned by Ericsson and Aduna. I'm not going to explain what Aduna is, but 4 and 5G traffic that you are using on your web apps is now possible to do security stuff with them because we have the power behind it. So it's a suite of essentially security tools. SIM swap, you will be able, or you are at the moment, as long as you're on a supported network, to be able to send a request to Vonage. This still blows my mind that I'm trying to write demo apps that do this. You send a phone number to Vonage, and it tells you how long the SIM has been in the device's phone. Is that nuts? I think that's nuts. Location verification. We've got a blog post coming about that soon, and I'll talk about that. Roaming, whether the device that you're talking about is actually roaming at the moment. Location retrieval is, where is the device? We're going to triangulate it. The location verification is this person where they say they are, or are they using a burner SIM? Are they trying to spoof an account? Something like that. There's loads of security options here. So for developers, you as Laravel developers, what this means is new security options. So this is, don't tell anyone, this is top secret. And it's top secret because this blog post has not been approved yet, and it hasn't been published, and therefore I'm not allowed to show you this at all. But what I've done is I've hacked the boilerplate for Laravel, and when I say hacked, you know, I put the Vonage logo instead of the Laravel. Don't judge me, don't judge me. But I've added 2 fields in there, really important: cellular phone and city. This is an example app, right? So we'll get into the kind of use cases of where this kind of thing happens, but it's an example app, so it's just to show you the capability of what it can do. For some reason in my app, and it's very important this, for some reason, you can only sign up in this Laravel app if you are right now, when you create your account, in the city that you say you're in. City, post, town, however it works for your territory. Similar kind of thing, you know, you have basically sort of levels of addresses. So how does that work? There's in the code, there's 2 methods in the controller I wrote: Vonage Ericsson location and geocode location. Number 1, Vonage Ericsson location. Give me the phone number. That's that of the person that's trying to sign up. I'm going to stitch together. I've missed some of the code out because you don't need to see that, and also it's too long. Basically, I've configured a client and a curl client, so which has the endpoint. You can look at the Open API specs at any time for this. The Vonage URL, which is the endpoint for the device retrieval, the device location retrieval API. Oh, right. So the Vonage URL, the phone number, which comes from the form. And then how old you want it to be. I've put a default in there. What comes back, if it's supported, is a latitude and a longitude as floats. So I return that as an array of floats. When I say I return that as an array with those things, don't ever do that in production, ever. Don't return a general array, please. Data objects for everything, please. No, I've had my time where I'm like, what's this array? This array is sausages. Please tell the developers what it is exactly that it's supposed to be. And then the second part is we have a latitude and we have a longitude, which are type hinted in as floats. And so we now use the PHP geocode API package. And with OpenStreetMap, this was almost 0 configuration. I wrap each level. So I wrap the client and I wrap it into a provider. And then I create a stateful geocoder, which says what the provider is, what locale that I want it in, i.e. English, choose your weapon. And you do what's called a reverse query, which is I'm going to give you coordinates, and then you are going to tell me the address of those coordinates. And that's how it pulls it out. In the return, you can see that there is an array. Don't ever return anything as an array. That's terrible, Jim. What are you doing? It's a demo app. Stop judging me. Right, let's crack on. Get locality. That brings back the city, the post town of wherever it is. So then we stitch it together. You get the Vonage location, you get the geolocation. Then all you do is, if city is not equal, and I'm doing a string to lower to make it match, to the city that came back, no, you can't sign up. What I've done there is I have just used triangulation with Ericsson's network, can be other networks depending on what territory you're in. I've triangulated your Laravel code to where you are standing to within maybe about 10 meters of whether you can sign up or not. And come on, yeah, whatever, yeah. I want to crack on now. Which one is it? Oh, I like this one. This one's great. So I live in Halesowen on the outskirts of Birmingham in the Black Country in the West Midlands. And there is a forge, there's a steel forge just up the road. And that steel forge was, until the project leader of this was assassinated by Mossad in 1990, we were making a space gun for Saddam Hussein. Did you know that? I mean, you didn't know about silent authentication, and you didn't know about the fact that we can triangulate the device for your Laravel apps. You didn't know that, did you? And we were building a space gun in Halesowen. Halesowen is always famous for, at one point, being the nail-making capital of the world, and we made buttons. There you go. What's next? Field use cases. Okay, so you as developers, as decision makers within Laravel, depending on what actual field that you are in. This is important. So I'm going to be a bit brief about this because there are sort of obvious ones. So there's an entire security suite. Like I said, there's SIM swap. You've seen the location, the device location retrieval. These are most important, I would say, pretty much for anything where there's sensitive data, or there is data where it can only be, the transactions can only happen if they're controlled. Fintech and health. If a client comes to you, if you were working for an agency and they are a fintech and they say, we need these security protocols, Vonage can do that. There you go. Health, likewise, health very much, rather than the security suite, I'd say video quite a lot because, you know, one-on-ones with doctors and things like that. Location-based services, bearing in mind that that location API that you saw can geolocate you, the important thing is what happens if you wanted to actually be sort of polling and streaming traffic checking all the time? I mean, you can do that. If you add React PHP to your Laravel app, or if you look at the work that Fathom Analytics do and how much data they process, for instance, then yes, we are capable of dealing with millions of requests a minute. That's. I know it seems a bit of a lie that PHP is slow. That's entirely fabricated and not true anymore. Streaming platforms. So streaming platforms, you are not permitted to use these titles. For instance, those titles are only available in this territory. You've got a geolocator, and the geolocator doesn't work on the GPS. GPS uses a lot of energy. HTTP requests over 4G don't. So you've got quite a big advantage to the user's device. And then high traffic other stuff. The one I've gone for is pretty logical, I would say, IoT, where you've got millions of data points per second. For that, you'd have to really sort of bespoke Laravel stuff. But like I said, with the work that Fathom do, it's possible. Or you could be mad and do microservices. No one needs to do that. Don't do that. That's awful. That's my opinion. Other opinions are available. Why Vonage? Sure, I work for Vonage, and you're watching me as a Vonage employee do this. So I'm going to be careful about this. The salesy bit is okay. We're backed by the Ericsson network, so therefore some of the stuff we're coming out with is kind of almost impossible for other people to do. But that's not why I'm here. It's not the reason why. It's no fluke that I'm on Laravel Worldwide Meetup. Right? That isn't a fluke at all. Why am I actually here is because Vonage and then its predecessors through Nexmo, which you might have heard of, which is a London startup back in the day, which was acquired, have a long history with the PHP community. A lot of prominent people within the PHP community have worked for us. This is the long game of what we do and what I do is putting back into the PHP community as much as possible. I mean, I personally, I donate to the PHP Foundation itself every month because it gave me my job and my career. And so in sort of giving back, representing PHP as a community to Vonage, I need to make sure that I represent Vonage to PHP. So the real reason why is that, you know, we are fairly heavily invested. I mean, we have an actual partnership with Laravel at a community level or at the moment right now. So yeah, that's kind of important. It's my job, and, you know, technically putting myself on the line here, but we have commitments to the future of PHP and to Laravel specifically. If it doesn't work, then it means I haven't done my job properly. So why Vonage? Yeah, it's because we put a lot of effort in. But also, I'm not going to say just use us because, you know, it doesn't work. That's not how business works. So yeah, the last thing. Did I do it? Oh, I thought I did a last. The more you know. I like to keep my talks a little bit more short and concise because I'm kind of insane, and people have kind of checked up on me when I pretended to faint on stage in person and said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "This is normal." My dissertation is in stand-up comedy, and I studied in theatre, in drama. I'm a trained actor with a hot dog hat on, so I'm really, really serious. So to stop myself from the nonsense I'm spieling, we have a startup program at Vonage, and I'm quite proud of the work that's Rachel and our team and Autumn have put into this. In that, really, the idea behind the startup program is to make it really a best in class. And I know that the moment I'm pushing this towards the Laravel community, because I know there are so many greenfield sites, startups that are choosing Laravel because of the rapid development that you get from it, because that's really where Laravel kind of shines, both in its documentation and the speed of prototyping. So it's for early stage startups that have any need for communications APIs. That's all of the ones that I previously mentioned. But it's up to $75,000 in API credits over 2 years, and with technical support that's bespoke to you. That's, in my book, pretty good. You're going to have to. I've made a complete boo-boo because I completely forgot this. I wonder if I could absolutely hack this together. I reckon I can actually. I've been sent the QR code, except I didn't include it on the slides. So can I dig it out last minute? You can tell this is a meetup talk and not a conference talk. It's like the most least polished thing ever. I do wear the hot dog hats. When I'm doing conferences as well. So can I right. Let's. Yeah. There we go. Right, there we go. I made it happen. There we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. There's the link. That's how you apply. Thank you very much. You've got a no. Don't show that. Don't show that. I don't want the people to see that. Yes, there is one. There is one more. Here we go. I'll enjoy the noise this time. That one was more relaxing. I was trying to sort of hurry up the last one. So, the more you know. This one, I have to end with my favorite one, which is that in Ghostbusters, Winston Zeddemore was played by the actor Ernie Hudson. And Ernie Hudson then applied to the real Ghostbusters when they turned it into a cartoon. And he applied to play Winston Zeddemore because he played Winston Zeddemore in the Ghostbusters film. Except they rejected him because they said that he did not sound enough like Winston Zeddemore. And there you go. And you didn't know that. And you didn't know about the startup program before. Knowledge sharing is always key, isn't it? Really. So thank you very much. I will take the sun isn't shining at the moment, but I've protected my head. I've been Jim Seconde, hot dog hat bow. Thank you very much for listening. Here's a load of stuff that you didn't know through CPaaS. And they're there to rescue me. Once I was left hanging when I did one of these, and I was just there smiling with this grin, hello, please stop me talking. Please stop me They're here. Good.
We're back. We were never far away, Jim.
Right there waiting for you.
Oh,
great.
Thank you for a very, I do know a lot more than I did at the start of that presentation.
As do I.
And some of it about web applications and web APIs. So thank you for a very engaging and informative presentation.
It's a difficult topic because my mission personally is to empower Laravel developers, and so I have that fine line of are you aware of the products that we have without saying I'm not a salesman, I'm a PHP dev. I've been doing it for 15 years, so you've got that kind of balance to do.
For sure.
Other competitors are available, but I won't name them. So there you go.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this a bit yesterday. We were chatting and saying that it's maybe some of those services you mentioned. You might well work in an application that doesn't need them, right? But when you do need them, and some of them some of the use cases there are very specific. But I have a feeling like if I was working on something and I needed that would be very handy to have. And I think
like I sort of said, the easy in always for me, especially if I'm at a booth or at a conference, is 2FA, because every app needs it really. So the video, voice and stuff like that is very bespoke to which, like, depends what market you're involved in. You might have no need for it whatsoever. So yeah.
No, and I think it's about so many of these things for me as a developer and someone who works in Laravel quite often and works for a company that works in Laravel quite often. It's just like knowing what's available so that when that conversation comes up with a client, I have some confidence that I can reach for something that's sort of like a community supported thing, like the SDK that you pointed us to, that I know I'll feel confident in solving that problem. So it's about education of what's out there, and then putting that in my toolbox, and then reaching it for when I need it, which might not be all the time. But as a general question, you mentioned at the start there, Jim, talking with people at the booth and then not knowing what CPaaS is, and I'd imagine it by nature they maybe know what it is, maybe they're less familiar with the acronym. But in your experience, like, this is a very general question, what is like the biggest miss, like either applications not using a CPaaS at all, or maybe applications using a CPaaS but not leveraging it all it can offer? Does anything stand out to you as like, this is people are missing this opportunity a lot?
There's two bits. There's certainly a lot of, I mean, obviously that I get lots and lots of observations from talking to lots of developers, because that's kind of my job. The first bit is that I started off with the CPaaS stuff on purpose because it's an industry term, and everyone goes, what are you talking about? So I do that on purpose because then I have to explain it, because my job is to unacronize everything, because like we do tend to sort of talk in jargon. If you want to see something really, really amusing, type in that this is a classic sort of Jim thing to do and go completely off piece, but I will come back to it. Look at the Deloitte Agile Landscape version 3, and it's an image, and you look at it and go, what's that? It's just words, just like CPaaS is just a word, isn't it? Which is why you get the translation of it's communications, right? It's telco stuff for your Laravel app. That's what it is. I think the observation I'd have is that people reach for the most kind of obvious use case that I have seen. I worked at before Vonage for about 2 years. I worked at a Shopify agency, and one of the most used apps that they kind of maintained was a third-party app that was now back in stock. And the now back in stock is it reads the stock level for an SKU, which is, there we go, throwing in acronyms, stock something, items, things that you buy. When it's at 0, it says it's out, so you can't buy it. But then the now back in stock thing goes, put in your phone number, and then it puts it into a MySQL database or Postgres or something like that. And then eventually there's basically a Laravel queue worker that polls it, and then when it comes in, it goes, right, send SMS. And so what I found is, from talking to lots of people, is that people go to one of the providers like us or our competitors specifically for that one thing, but they don't know about the other things, and they don't look at the other things. So there's no, like, cross-selling is, you'd think it'd be easy, but it's kind of not. And I think it's because of that thinking of, well, the thing that I want my Shopify Laravel app to do specifically is send a text message. Well, okay, well, why not an RCS message? And also, why not give the option to have a phone call if it's back in stock, if you're doing medical supplies or something like that, something that's far, far more urgent. And they don't know that there's a voice API. And they certainly, if they don't know about that, they won't know about the new stuff like the network-powered APIs, which is difficult to explain because we're at the front of it. Like, we really are giving the cutting, like, that is the most cutting edge thing where, I went to an offsite, the whole team meeting in Stockholm, and the Ericsson people were showing us robotic Boston Dynamic dogs that were just doing stuff based on the 4G signal. And I was like, what? So we are doing cutting edge stuff. And I think that trying to make developers aware of all of the different things that you can use is a bit of a struggle, and that's what I get on the booth.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm curious. So, sorry, going back to, I'm just wondering if you could expand a little bit more on silent authentication that you were saying. Do you need to have a native app in order on the phone for that to work?
No. So,
Okay.
although bearing in mind the silent auth in the works, with a shout out to Simon and Shane because of a native PHP, because I'm where I can trying to build and promote that as much as possible, because I genuinely believe that to be a game changer within the entire industry outside PHP. But I will turn the sample app I've got into a native PHP app, but there's one thing that it works on the premise of, and I think that native PHP will change that for Laravel developers. When the user hits the button that says authenticate me, and it hits the back end of Laravel, whether that's, in this case, I'm thinking of the traditional approach where it's something that's it's the browser on the phone, and it's actually a Laravel backend on your cloud, or wherever it is, on AWS or Laravel cloud. It has to be done via cellular. Now that is one of the sort of probably the biggest friction point. If you do it via Wi-Fi, it's not on the network. Won't do it, because it's like, where's that come from? The whole point of silent authentication is it works by intercepting you send off the request that came in to Vonage, and Vonage goes, we know exactly what carrier has sent that and from where and from which tower, and therefore the triangulation, what the carrier is, who the former carrier, like all that information, it analyzes that in order to make it the security tool that it is.
So, Jim, geographically, does that work kind of worldwide, or are there restrictions to where that works?
Not at the moment. No, it works in the UK, Germany, Spain, and I think that's it at the moment. But there's a page. Will I be able to get it up in time? There's basically a page of supported territories, but what's happening is that we're working with individual carriers to just sign them up. So gradually it will just start expanding and expanding. That's how it works at the moment. That's really that comes down to having the power of Ericsson behind us. Silent authentication, supported territories. And also, one of the things during my talk that was really important was the fallback, which is you can implement it if you're based in, say, in Germany, in Spain, where now it's sort of leading. But if it's another territory, then it will just fall back to the previous, any other method, even email, if you want it to. Territories, Vonage. There we go. Let's see if I can find it. If I can put it into the private chat, then maybe you can chuck it up. Am I going to do it in time without dead air? Probably not. No. It's going to take too long.
We can drop a link in the description
I'll
after.
dig a little bit more. So So the reason why I bring native into this is because native PHP, the work they've done, has access to the either Kotlin or Swift native native APIs. The APIs through C. It's really complicated how it works. The good thing is I don't have to worry about that because they've done it for me. It gives access to the device APIs. But if we have access to the device APIs, then we have access to whether cellular is switched on and off, or whether Wi-Fi is switched on and off. So for that request, theoretically, you could switch off Wi-Fi and then just say, make sure you force it through the cellular connection. That means, yes, we're restricted by territories in terms of consumers. It means that the West is really the target market. It means that if you're an emerging market where 5G and 4G isn't there, then that's not going to be your sort of target customers. But then your app caters for everybody, because it starts off with that, and then it ends with SMS if you want it. And SMS now is going to be across all markets. It doesn't matter whether in the United States, whether you're in Japan, or whether you're in Nigeria. It doesn't matter. So you've got kind of all bases covered. So like everything with these APIs, there's friction, there's pros and there's cons, there's trade-offs.
Yeah.
If I could circle back to the previous, we were talking about like people finding their way to the platform for a specific reason. I think SMS a lot of times is that. I've had a similar use case where I won't name the competitor, but done a similar thing where I've signed up because I needed my application to send SMS. But largely they've been very simple, simple text messages, right? And I think that's what SMS is best for. But when you mentioned like people aren't leveraging it, maybe in those cases RCS, like this rich communication services. So it's just sort of a dumbed down explanation. Like RCS to me is sort of SMS, but you can have like media in it. Is that kind of a good way of looking at it?
Yeah, the best way to explain it, I think, I'll talk to the audience with sort of dual possibly West and emerging markets. If it's the West, we're going to talk about WhatsApp. If it's emerging markets, either something like Signal or Viber. All the things that you can do in things like Signal and Viber or insert, Telegram, etc., is that it's a rich media communications platform. That's the point of it. So you can have interactive prompts. You can send messages. You can send images. You can send video. So and things like the location that then uses the location API on the device, all of those kind of things. RCS is a protocol built on top of, and really it's a protocol but on top of and supported by RCS that uses GSM. So as far as you're concerned as the end user, it's just your messages app on your phone, right? So an RCS message coming in looks exactly the same as a text message, except with RCS, it's got stuff that you can't do in a text message, but it will look the same. It'll just look like WhatsApp. Right. So that's the difference with it. And it's one of those. I haven't delved too much into the reason why. I know that the support from Google and Apple really just suddenly that they were then invested, and they are the two smartphone platforms, and therefore once they're involved, they then push. They're then pushing it out.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So the ability to create RCS applications where the sort of classic use cases, if it was like an interactive help desk that you get on so many applications, where you go on their website and then you have the thing. You have the little box like, hello, how can I help you today? I will sort of put you through to a human, maybe, if you're feeling lucky. Those kind of apps, if you like in Laravel, you could just build an entire system with multiple logins. If you wanted to resell it, multi-tenancy, if you wanted to, multiple logins for agents that log in, and they've got like a list of assigned things that are incoming. And as far as they're concerned, they have a desktop app that's on the browser and they're talking to them, but then they can send videos and they can send images. So if you've got like some sort of IT support type thing, they can drop in an image and it will go. So they get it on their device, and your desktop app just works as if it was WhatsApp web or the Telegram app or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty powerful. What you can do with RCS and what Vonage offers is powerful stuff.
I think there's a world of possibility, and then you connect that to AI in terms of generating those responses. But even just dialing it back, I think of like that. So a simple example would be like when I talked about like I've signed up for a platform like this before to just send a notification message, and it might just be plain text. Your order is ready for pickup. But with an RCS message, I have a whole world of possibilities in terms of like the visuals I put in that message, and then also making the message, like you said, interactive, right? So my understanding it, like, let's say I wanted to send out a message, be like, were you happy with your service? And if it was an SMS message, I would say like, please respond Y or N.
Exactly.
With RCS though, I can have a nice graphic with my logo, and maybe like clickable links where I could respond yes or no, and kind of make it really a much nicer user experience, right? So
I mean, when I was on stage at Laracon India, I spoke to someone at the booth. That was absolutely insane, by the way. If you want an experience, go to Laracon India. It's absolutely
We've
insane.
heard we had Vishal on in January, and
it's
like a fun time.
Ticket.
next level madness. Like there's no rules, everything goes. And the year that I went was the year that they put it at the same time that the Holi Festival of Color was on. So we did the Holi Festival as well, and it was I think it was probably one of the most memorable weekends of my life. I think it was kind of insane. Not the 27-hour journey back, that wasn't. But to go back to so someone was saying they worked at a major shipping company, and they actually used Laravel, and they were like, so what can you do? What can you do about this? So I talked about their use case, and what they wanted was really, I basically discussed the solution, which is when somebody unloads something via crane number 1, 2, 3, 4 at port insert, whichever port it is, can I have an app that I press, that the user is logged in, who's the worker, who presses a button and says, I've done it. And when they say, I've done it, that's all they need to do, because then it geolocates it, and then it forwards it via RCS with the location retrieval, then sends a location card to the main server of whoever's monitoring it on their desktops. And so you've got an unload of, load XYZ unloaded by crane 1, and it's all done by geolocation. It kind of blows my mind that I work in a company where we can sort of do that. But that's what you can do now. And like I said, the whole point of this talk is that if communications in a Laravel app is mentioned to me at the booth, usually it's, oh, that's cool, you can send SMS, and I'm like, oh no,
yeah,
no, you can do more than that.
Yeah, no, that's I hear, and AI stuff falls in the same boat for me. I hear all these things, or I see someone give a talk and they demonstrate something or some concept, and I'm like, that sounds cool. But it's when I hear the practical use cases of people actually putting them together and I start to realize the possibilities where I get really excited about it. So
yeah, I would say at the moment, content wise, about what I'm writing about and what I'm not ready to write a Laravel AI talk with Vonage just yet, because it's such an evolving space that's very, very difficult to keep up.
Writing a new one every month.
Well, exactly. And there's a security breach every month, or there's a new evolution, or there's someone's buying something, and it's all a bit kind of crazy to keep up with. But as it may be, as the AI space hopefully sort of, I don't know, steadies a little bit, where it's a bit more stable, then it's already apparent to all of us at Vonage, but we all know that this is something that is not like, say, the sort of the crypto boom in the sort of mid 2010s. This isn't that. This has already made its impact, and it's changing development as we know it. Mm-hmm. Where communications APIs come in, I mean, we know that we're going to play a big part in that. We just are, because of voice, because of I'm going to take an incoming RCS, and then I'm going to feed it through into an agent, and the agent's going to, or maybe at some stage, it'll be Laravel itself will just be orchestrated by by OpenClaw, and OpenClaw will be taking RCS messages that come in and doing actions, or if it comes to development, maybe doing deploys, or maybe opening PRs. Who knows? The possibilities are kind of endless. So,
I mean, speaking of that, I guess speaking of that, and also figuring, like, maybe not a lot of people have heard of CPaaS. How have you found, like, interacting with AI to come up with CPaaS related stuff? Like, when you ask AI, is that something that comes by easy for you, or are you finding like there's still not enough there to really feel guided by AI? I guess everyone is absolutely on our team. Everyone is individual to their approach. We have a company-wide goal. We are going to be an AI first company, and we're already on that trajectory. That's fine. And how we use it, we all prove how we use it. So everyone uses it for different kind of means and ends. I think one of the most important things that's a kind of mantra across the team, especially when writing, is it's there as a tool, but it can't write it for you. And
within the industry, and this is maybe sort of within the tech industry in general, to be even spicier at this, if you look at my LinkedIn, you'll see what I'm referring to be. Within the Laravel industry specifically, there are a lot of developers in emerging markets that really, really want to be influencers. And being an actual influencer is a lot of hard work, takes years, and it's really difficult. And a lot of the time, you get absolutely no praise for it whatsoever. So going to GPT and saying, make me a Laravel post about Laravel 13, then give me an AI-generated image and splat it onto LinkedIn, it does not make you an influencer. So if you take, so the audience members, if you take anything from me today, put work into your craft, use AI as your tool, don't think it's going to do your job for you, because it won't. So that's how, the way I use it is, right, everything is from my brain. The ideas, the way I do, weird humor that some people love, some people hate. I don't know. Engagement is the kind of key point, and also, you know, the actual code and what these things do itself. It's important that if I don't know what I'm talking about, then everyone will switch off. I'd like to pretend to be doing all this, but I have to be good at something. So you can tell about where my sort of various passions lie about things, because you've basically just clicked my on switch. Although, is that hard? Really? Not that hard.
It was clicked on already.
Yeah, exactly.
It comes out of my brain, just like sort of, you know, like Harry Potter when he's taking the dreams out or whatever. Mr. Potter. Take it out and then feed it. I feed it into various models and go, give me outlines of what you think about this, and then I determine what makes sense as a human and what is very, very obviously plastic in AI. And I take that and roll with, really, planning is how AI comes in. So that's the main way that I use it. For the really boring, mundane stuff, that's not just much, so that I use it for ideas and how to really sketch out stuff. That's all I use it for. I tried to do debugging with it once, and I did it with pest tests, and my goodness me, it did not know what it was doing. Give it a year, it'll probably be amazing. But really, there's a really interesting post on the Vonage blog. I'm going to put it so that you can put it up, because I really should be doing that. Where a colleague of mine on my team, Benjamin, wrote an article about knowing no Laravel and used Laravel Boost and use the Vonage MCP server. We do have an MCP server. Just to go, I'll tell you what, I'm not a PHP developer. I'm certainly not a Laravel developer. What can I do? And I mean, he does it. He's got a fully functioning app that does comm stuff, which is pretty cool. So I think there's a sort of, with AI, there's a bit of a know your kind of limits.
With great power comes great responsibility. Is a lesson we learned.
The more you know, the more you can do too, right?
Unfortunately, the problem is with people that put out the most stuff about AI, either have got skin in the game and they're trying to manipulate stuff, or they're trying to give an opinion because they're heavily invested in a company, or they don't know what they're talking about. just want them to do it for them. Right, here we go. That's one. That's one for the. Here you go. What happens if you give? Actually, Benjamin predominantly is a Rails developer. What happens if you just give Vonage MCP and the Laravel Boost MCP, and then try and make an app out of it? I've put it into the private channel if you want to.
Yeah, I got that. We'll be sure to put that in the description too.
Cool.
Good one. But yeah,
awesome. Yeah, no, I definitely, coming into this chat, that was one thing on my mind. Just where do you see CPaaS evolving within the world of AI, so to speak? And I think what you said, makes a lot of sense. Is that it's going to be AI is going to be driving a lot of the services that you kind of outlined and stuff like that in the future as people build out more and more things with AI.
Yeah, we have redefining the things that are being redefined at the moment are. The field that I'm in used to be called developer relations. We have an API and our customers are developers, and therefore the developer experience must be good. then we've sort of renamed to developer experience. So we've gone from kind of customer experience to developer experience, that's DX. And now what's essentially evolved, and really it was Fabien Potencier at API Platform Conference, the founder of Symfony, really started talking about AX. And it's true, you can't avoid it. Agent experience. Now we have to consider agent experience. And from that basically is the AI experience of how prepared are we for our APIs to be consumed by AI. And if you're not ahead with that, you're going to fall behind very, very quickly, as we've seen from the kind of the curve of AI's evolution at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, any other questions for you, Margot, on your side?
I wanted to know about, so with support for Laravel 13, I guess more just for the audience to really hear it from you, Jim. What's the killer feature in the new version that developers should be using for communications?
The killer feature.
Killer feature.
What do you mean from us?
I guess so. Or yeah, from you.
Well, because I mean, like, there's I think that out of the actual feature I enjoyed the most looking at Laravel 13 really is the getting my hands. It's really boring. It's getting my hands dirty, because every developer that specializes in front end I've spoken to really rates Svelte. So having the Svelte kit available as boilerplate was like, great. I can play around with this without having to like front end tool chains, right? What's it all about? I don't know. I don't know what's going on half the time. Vite is doing this and compiling these assets into the wrong directory, and I don't know what I'm doing. And this is why things like these, the kind of stuff that comes out the starter kits and Vite being sort of baked into NPM's the NPM dev start, like server start and build process. Svelte is something that I really, really want to get my hands dirty with, because I want to see what it's all about. In the interests of being with my sort of BBC British broadcasting hat on, where you have to be you can't be biased about everything. I'm really, really interested in Svelte, and I really like Vue. And in the interests of bias and making sure that we're equal, I really hate React. I hate it. It's rubbish. Why do you use it? What is it? It's rubbish. So I'm really excited about that. But in terms of the pairing with Vonage, I'd say the next gen stuff with network APIs being paired with Laravel, I think that's the thing I'm excited about most. So, like I said, in the talk, the blog post I've got coming out soon, it's kind of under review at the moment, so top secret, don't tell anybody, is trying to sign up. And when you try and sign up, it goes through cellular and it triangulates where you are for security purposes. Now, to do that in Laravel paired with Vonage, that's what I find exciting. So you'll hear more about that. And it'll get even more fun when I start pairing it with native PHP, because native PHP is basically Willy Wonka land. I don't know how they've done it, but they've done it.
I agree. I've been playing around with native PHP. We've had both Simon and Shane on to talk about it. It's a very cool project. Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Jim, I'd like to thank you once again for joining us today. You pointed us to a few blog posts and stuff. We'll put those links in the description afterwards. We can point people to the Vonage docs to get started. Anywhere else that we might want to point people to kind of get, as a resource to get up and running with some of this stuff and start experimenting with what's possible.
I think that, like, if I bring up the Vonage blog, because that's a really good place to get started, because in the Vonage blog you get some of the articles, the ones that I linked on there, the code's already there. I mean, sure, it's in Laravel 12 in most cases. So, yeah, sure, I need to run shift. But I'm lazy / overworked. Who knows? So those blog posts show all you have to do is sign up and get your security credentials, and then you can kind of analyze the code to see what it's doing. So that's probably, I would say, one of the best starting points. let me the one I think the one with Livewire. I'm going to do the Livewire one because that really sort of that kind of blew my head off. That there was almost the only thing I did in the front end was CSS code. That was it. So I'm going to put that there. That's now in the private chat so that you can chuck it out either into the room now or add it on to YouTube comments, things like that.
Got it. Awesome.
We got it.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. All right. I think that's all I have. And once again, Jim, thanks for joining us today and sharing all of this in a very engaging presentation.
That was tame. That was very tame.
Wow, I'd like to see what not tame
I
looks
love
like.
Oh no, I'm
better.
capable of much worse.
All right. Well,
if you want to look up my name on YouTube, you can check it out when I talk to the ghost of John Wayne.
Plenty of content.
to get to see what you're talking about.
Special shout out to Alex, the Vonage elephant. Here he is. I'm afraid we're out of them. We've given them all away now.
We're talking about
them out at Vonage at some Laravel London and Laravel Manchester in the UK. A load of them were given out at one of the Laravel meetups in the US. Can't remember which. He's called Alex. He's named after my son because he stole the prototype and he wouldn't give it back.
Yeah, we were talking before. You've quite a collection of PHP elephants there, including some massive ones I've never seen before. So I've never seen the. Yeah, look at that, Frank. That's wow.
That's my Franken one. Shout out to Kevin. And normally he wears his native cap as well.
Oh,
I've got a Silius one for the e-commerce heads out there. There you go. There's my oversized Silius. It's
child could ride on that.
It's addictive, and much to my wife's chagrin, she's like, "Keep those in your office. Do not bring these into the house."
It doesn't surprise me. Well, thanks for sharing all of this today, Jim. We really appreciate you joining us, sharing your knowledge, and any parting thoughts for you today before we sign off?
Invest in salmon? I don't know. No.
All right. Well, thanks again, Jim. We appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much, both.
All right. Well, yeah, thanks again, Jim, for a very engaging presentation. And Margot, before we sign off today, we've just got a few community things to take care of. So what do we have here?
Cool. Thanks, Dan. So yes, big thank you to Jim. As for our next meetup, you can join us on May 26th. So we're going to have possibly Joe Tannenbaum to talk about some Laravel Cloud. So we got some exciting stuff coming up. And we could also sign up for a giveaway. So again, scan that QR code. You'll be entered into our draw, and the winner will be announced May 5th. And then you can win any 1-year subscriptions to JetBrains IDEs. So you get to pick. Pretty awesome. And then also to stay connected and involved, you can follow us on X at Laravel WW Meetup. And then you could also follow us on Blue Sky as well at Laravel WW Meetup. And for all your Laravel Worldwide Meetup updates, make sure to follow us on our official website at meetup.laravel.com. You can also subscribe to our email list as well to not miss a single notification. So please sign up for that if you'd like. And then you could also let us know through Blue Sky or on X if you want to chat. If you want to do a talk, you could also do that on meetup.laravel.com as well. We'd love to hear any of your ideas and what you want to stay informed about in the Laravel community. And then also thank you for watching us on YouTube. And if you want to find some more great Laravel content, you can subscribe to the Laravel YouTube. Lots of great videos and content that comes out. And again, don't miss the next video that's going to be coming out. It's a live event at 2 o'clock to check out some more Laravel Cloud stuff.
All right. Well, anything else for you, Margot?
No, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Always a pleasure. And we'll see you the next time.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you in the next one.
See ya.